Hello, Internet, and welcome to another fucking podcast. All right, let's get into this. So,
I don't think we made it past the 7 seconds.
who cares? It doesn't matter. Like,
Doesn't
dude, I
matter.
I imagine we probably get flagged based on our name itself, like Shitpost Central. I don't know what
Uh,
Spotify's
there are
like
songs
terms of
called shit.
service is, but I know that wouldn't fly on YouTube just straight up.
Bo
Yeah.
Burnham has a song named Shit on Spotify. It's fine.
Well,
It should be
because
good.
I know because the way I had to start this whole podcast up was on Spotify. Like you have to dig through the settings, like on account stuff, and it takes you to a separate website called Spotify for Podcasts or like podcasters, and I had to make it on there. So it's technically on two websites because you can listen to it on that, like Spotify for Podcasts, but it also creates it for regular Spotify. So it's a really weird system that they have set up for it, but I guess it's kind of like similar to like YouTube Studio for YouTubers.
Mhm.
This week, before we really get into it, did anybody have anything crazy happen over the past week? I know me and Sean were sick with COVID. Everybody in our like work area got super sick, like to the point where the small town it's stationed at, the school there like shut down for the week. Everybody was getting
I
sick.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I just knew I was getting sick and sniffly and all that. It was not fun.
Well, I probably had the most fun out of you two this past week.
Probably.
Yeah, me and a couple coworkers from my workplace, we went to Horror Nights, I think last Thursday.
Mm.
That was a lot of fun. We pre-gamed, we took a couple shots of vodka, and we ate some edibles before going in.
Well, of
I
course.
probably shouldn't have taken the edible.
it's the crossfade that'll get you.
Yeah. And we at least gone through like 3 houses. We went through Insidious, Ghostbusters, and Monster Bloodlines, I think it's called.
Cool.
But
A little
fuck
early.
Insidious. Fuck the Insidious house because there is legit a room as soon as you step into it, it's a vomit scene. The
Mm.
room
Ugh.
completely smells like vomit. I don't know how they were able to do that. It was awful, and then I got scared back to back 3 times at the end, so that's the first house that we did.
Isn't like the whole thing with the weird stipulation with horror houses is that they can't touch you?
Yeah.
So they have to like
Yeah.
really go over the top with any
went in
like being
blind.
around you.
Yeah, but we had a lot of fun. We drank the entire night. I think we came home, like, around 2 AM, and we were there since 5:30.
Oh, Sean,
God.
what was that place called? Was it Fear Fest or what was it called? Hold
I
on.
think it was Fear Fest.
I think it was
know you
called Fear
posted-
Fest. I posted like an unlisted video to like I think send to be like, hey, this was like because I recorded a couple of different things, but it was just like
You
for
posted it
personal
on
stuff.
your Insta.
Oh, I posted on Instagram, but I had like an unlisted video to share like on YouTube.
Yeah, it was Fear Fest.
Fear Fest. Yeah, that shit. I think it's just because there's such little things to do out here, but that event in the entire thing, we were there for like 8 hours,
Oof.
and
Yeah.
because we were in line like to get into the area for about like an hour and a half, I want to say. Does that sound accurate? I think closer to an hour. And
I don't know why, but my mind's saying 3.
well, because the thing is, once you get into the area, there's other lines that it's like a queue for a queue. It
yeah,
was
we had 3
ridiculous
hours of lines.
because
Damn.
it was like the first line getting into the area was like an hour. Then we had to figure out where the hell we were going for like half an hour because it was an insane amount of people, pitch black, and like no real direction on where you're supposed to go for certain things. You kind of just have to figure it out. What really sucked about it was once you got into that line, if you got out of it, you were fucked. So you had to stand there the entire time. And what they would do, like to keep some people entertained, was they had like these actors walking around, like some in like stilts, some in like there was this one dude running around in a with a chainsaw. But the
Oh.
problem with that is it was a very hot and humid day, and I'm asthmatic. So I remember multiple times him just revving that shit up like right next to us, and I am just coughing my fucking lungs out. They had fog machines on top of that, and like, oh, it was they did like a whole firework display show, which was pretty cool, but it just added on to the breathing issues. I was
Oh.
so sick at the end of it. I was like, this is
I
awful.
I had a blast. Me with no asthma here. I had a blast. It
Because
was amazing.
the thing was, right once we actually got into the haunted house, I was stone cold the entire fucking time. Because there, when we were leading up to it, there were plenty of people, like you could hear them like screaming and all that. I was like,
Yeah.
this is definitely not going to be like, I'm not going to have a lot of fun. I tried to. They definitely had some good costumes, but they just needed better management. Because holy fuck, man.
I could have sworn it was freezing at Fear Fest. It
Was
was
it
really
cold?
cold.
I
It
just
was insanely cold.
I just remember like not only it being like the smoke and everything, I remember just like the day, like the weather was making it harder to breathe.
I could read the caption. Went to Fear Fest last month. Fireworks and light show were cool, but the 4-hour line for a 20
4 hours.
minute for a 20-minute haunted house sucked. Was suffocating on smoke and burning gasoline in freezing temperatures in the
Okay, it
mud.
was freezing. Okay, so
Actors were okay.
see, literally the exact same. Like, see, I can remember this stuff. It's down to the T. Apparently, just the temperature was different.
Yeah, I remember having to get my jacket up because JJ was really cold.
When it comes to like Halloween activities, I've always preferred just like do the simple pumpkin carvings, and that's about
Oh
it.
yeah.
I like dressing up. I love Halloween.
It's definitely a vibe online. I'll give it that.
Yeah, definitely. I've already been like a bunch of stuff for Halloween.
What does irk me though is November 1st they start playing Christmas music. Like, stop. Like, I'll give it to you December 1st. Don't start any of that shit November, please,
Or
for
at
the
least
love of
like
God.
at least after Thanksgiving,
If
in
you're
my
in
opinion.
America, at least after Thanksgiving. Everywhere else, I don't know if they have anything else like going on in November. But like, come on. So the main topic for today was we were going to go over. Oh, I should probably give a little bit of context because I think it'd be funny with how long this goes. If a podcast, like, if people really don't like it, we could just bomb whoever came up with the idea. Basically, the way we have it set up is we do kind of like how we did it last week with the round robin thing, where it's me, McKenna, and then Sean. That's the order for choosing the topic of each podcast. So if you really don't like something, let us know, and then we could just humiliate them.
You just publicly execute the person who came up with
Absolutely.
the topic.
Just
They'll have
fucking
to
kneecap
sit
their
out of the
ass.
next podcast. They'll be on the sidelines.
So
Just,
for this episode, we're going to be going over different travel stories, different
Mhm.
things that we've done, like just on the move, whether it's like a road trip or like plane travel, all that, just away from home kind of deal.
I think my first story is probably when we went to New York. I think this was about 2019, I'm guessing. Because I think I was not, we weren't seniors then, we were juniors,
Right
if
before
I'm
the
correct.
rapture.
Right before the rapture. And like time skipped somehow. But
2 years deleted.
2 years, more like the rest of the years. I still think it's 2020. But New York trip was pretty cool. It was under school rules because it was through the school by a
Right.
teacher. New York was pretty fun. I believe it was 3 days and 4 no, it was 3 nights, 4 days. We went to Statue of Liberty, the little island that it was on. Yeah, we did a bunch of stuff. I believe we went to see Wicked on Broadway. and that was pretty cool because I was still in my little theater phase at the time.
Mhm.
Seeing just like the production and how different it is in New York and like on fucking Broadway of all
I
places
was gonna
was
say, like,
pretty
if you're
wild.
into theater, like New York is like the place to be. Now, aren't you
Yeah.
like still pretty into like the whole like theater and musicals, all that?
A little bit, not as much as I used to be. I'm more if there's really a musical like group that I really, really dig and like try to recommend to other people is Star Kid, because those are funny.
Mm.
They're free on YouTube. You can go watch them. But we did that. I think we took a boat ride around the Statue of Liberty at night. I still have the pictures of those. And what else did we do? We ate in this. Oh, okay. This was my favorite part of the trip. It was an old cathedral. I forgot the name of the place, but it was an old cathedral, like all glass paintings and all that kind of stuff. And it was a like a pizza restaurant kind of deal.
Mm.
Mm.
Of course, it's pizza.
And
Oh, of course, yeah.
they mostly served like it was very expensive, very, very expensive.
Shouldn't be. Their whole
But
thing's the dollar slice.
that it was like a fancy shit. Like this was very expensive pizza. And I'm looking over, I think it was Isha at the time. I'm like, are we fucking paying for this?
God, I hope not.
And then Mr. Waka was like, oh no, 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 you can get whatever you want. I'm like, whatever I
Bro's
want.
balling out.
If you say so.
Spending
He was
all
paying
the
for
money.
everybody's dinners that night. And I'm like, this is like easily gonna cost him like $3,000 to cover
Holy
every single
shit.
kid and because the principal also came with us.
Okay.
And she was our chaperone for I think it was me, Juliet, Isha, and another person I know at the time, but I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. I had the principal's phone number for the next 5 years until, like, I suddenly realized that I still had it, and I was very debating on, like, actually calling her, like, in the middle
Just
of
to
the
fuck with them?
night just to fuck with them. I'm like, "No, I shouldn't do that," so I just deleted it. Oh, we also went to the Empire State Building. I have a picture of me on the top of it. That was pretty wicked. And then I think the last day we were there, they were like we had free reign to do what we do before we had to go back to the airport.
Mm.
So me and a friend of mine, Jesus, we went to the Nintendo store and we bought a couple things from there.
Cool.
Nice.
That was like the one thing I really, really wanted to do. Besides, oh yeah, the fucking Broadway show being on top of the Empire State Building. No, I want to go to the Nintendo New York store. And it was my first time being on a plane. That was pretty cool because I've never been on an airplane before.
I still never been on a plane.
It wasn't that bad for me. Be talking because I've traveled a lot throughout my childhood up until now. I still do. I still travel a lot. I'm going on another trip next month and a much bigger trip next year. But
Ooh.
I think I just get used to it.
Mhm.
I'm such an easy person to just go with the flow, really.
My details of the first one we'll get into right after Sean here, but it was definitely a doozy.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's my turn next. Oh shit. I remember for a school trip when we went to see the Morro Rock in the Sequoia National Park or whatever. You know, the big redwood trees. We had to climb that fucking mountain. It's a lot.
It was like a concrete like staircase because to
Yeah.
give some context to this,
Oh.
this wasn't like a trip sanctioned by the school necessarily. This was a trip fundraised by a club during high school. I want to say it was like what was it? Was it sophomore year or junior? I think it would have been junior because well my junior year because
Yeah, it would have been my
you
freshman
just
year.
because I was trying to get you into clubs that like help you out freshman. Yeah, so it was my junior year, his freshman. So it was a club that basically did like community service stuff. Like we did like highway cleanups and it would do front fundraisers for occasional field trips. So what we did, like I think I did like 3 different highway cleanups and then it was like kind of you do whatever you can whenever you can. We did a fundraiser and we went out to the Sequoias and it wasn't like a bus or anything. We had like multiple different cars, and we were in the geology teacher's like minivan. It was like the most it was like the most jank shit on like the tiniest road up the mountain. And the entire time I was on the right side, so the entire time I'm just looking like, yeah, we're like 3 inches away from the cliff.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like all of these turns are super fucking tight. Like I did not feel safe at all.
Dear
Like
Lord.
half the time I don't think there was any railing. It was fucking insane up that path. But once you actually got there, it was gorgeous. But that definitely, that staircase was a bitch. You basically climbed the mountain.
Yeah. At the top, it's just like there's only a railing protecting you. If you dropped anything and it rolled off, it was gone.
Very.
It immediately. It was terrifying being up there. But also, I got a nice picture that I now have as my wallpaper.
I can't remember if I have any. Oh wait, no, I do. I do. I don't. I didn't take any pictures from the top. I don't think, but I took like some pictures with friends as like a meme. Like we did.
Mhm.
There was like some friends like T posing out in like a creek. Uh,
Of course you fucking would.
I wasn't the one T posing, but they were. But we did that. There was, I think there was like a rock formation on like the side of the cliff that looked like a face that people were pointing out that I took a picture of. That's all I can remember from that.
Yeah, I don't have many pictures that I had taken because new phone, I didn't save them all.
You and me were preoccupied with something else. If you wanted to talk about that,
I'd rather not.
you don't want to talk about it.
Oh, I say we skip it. I was a young child.
A young freshman, like I don't think
Yes,
that's too young.
I'm concerned. What the fuck?
Do you want me to go
I
into
have
it?
ADHD. I grabbed a piece of wood, I believe. And I'm like, I'm
Scorched wood.
keeping this. I
It was
decided
like-
I will keep it.
It was like half redwood, half charcoal. It was like a clump of wood about half the size of his head.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
It was
Jesus.
like crumbling apart, and I was like, dude, just drop it. Like that's gonna make a mess on the way back. Like you're gonna mess up the dudes. And like I said, we didn't come in like a bus or anything. Like it's not like there's public cleaning services. No, it was just some dude's van. So
And funny enough,
God.
I don't remember that about the trip. Not a bit of that.
he picked it up.
Zach
like,
is
right-
the only one that remembers it.
Well, the thing is, I remember it specifically because I kept on getting on to you about it the entire time, to the point where my friends got sick of hearing my shit about it. It was like, dude, just leave him alone. Let him have the trash. But I just wouldn't let it go. Because
I was a very different person back in freshman year. I swear.
it was like,
I have changed.
it was picked up like on the way down from the mountain, and because it was like a climb up the mountain, and then you go down, and then we actually went over and saw, like, checked out the redwood trees. That entire time he was like picking it apart and like like in like a baseball, tossing it up and down, and it's just splattering as you would imagine crumbling wood would do. And he does eventually drop it right before hopping into the van.
Yeah.
But I think you were very dead set on keeping that wood if I did not do anything.
I think I would have left it even if you didn't say a thing.
You were, the way you were talking about it, you were like, no, I'm keeping this. I want to bring this home. This is cool.
I think I got stuck on it because you were fighting me on it. I don't know why. I was just hard-headed. I'm like, I'm keeping it now.
I
You
think
said something.
at a certain point, it probably ended up just being brotherly headbutting, and you just enjoyed fucking with me at that point.
Most likely.
But it drove me crazy for half the trip. So for me, what first came to mind was there's been weirdly multiple, well, little context. There's, back in like elementary school, I want to say, Scholastic did this thing where if you, I think it was either 100 or like 500, I think it was 100. If you read 100 books, i.e. if you write 100 titles on a piece of paper, they would give you a free ticket to Six Flags.
Yep, I remember this.
So we would all get a paper for that and do it like every single time that it was available.
Yep.
It stops becoming available once you're out of elementary school. Well, I think I'm in 7th grade in this story. No, 8th. I would have had to been 8th because this involves Guillermo. Me and Guillermo became really good friends. Like, met him in 6th grade. Like, best buds by the time we get to like 7th, 8th. So, knowing me for like 2+ years at that point, apparently I don't know whose idea it was, but his dad took us on a trip to Six Flags. It was his dad, him, his brother, and then he had a plus one. And he was like, "Hey man, you want to go?" And I said, "Fuck yeah." We cleared everything was good. But once we got there, Guillermo's brother just disappears,
Oh,
and so it just ends up being the three of us for like major majority of the time we're there. Like we meet up with him like 10-15 minutes before we leave. I have no idea what he went to go do, but he just booked it. He was gone. So it was the three of us. So you go to Six Flags, you ride the roller coasters, right? Like it's the whole point. So
it's called an amusement park.
I'm trying to remember what was the first one we went to. I think the closest one is like Colossus, which was funny enough was also my first ever roller coaster. At the time, I think it was like the second biggest one they had, which was a mistake. I was very fucked up after that. But in this instance, like I think it was Colossus. Yeah, I was like, I wanted to do it again because it'd been so long. We get through the line and Guillermo stops. I'm like, "Hey man, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh no, I was just standing in the line with you guys. I'm not going on." I'm like,
Uh.
"What?" He's like, "Yeah, no, I'm terrified. I don't ride roller coasters."
What?
That's what I was like. I start spazzing. I'm like, what? That is the whole idea of the trip that you invited me on. We were gonna hang out and do this. You're not gonna do it?
That's funny that he decided to tell you right in the middle of the line.
So
like,
what ends
right
up happening throughout the entire time we're there is we all three of us stand through the lines, like talk and hang out. But once it gets to the coaster, it's me and his dad. So the entire time it's just me and him. So after like 2 or 3, we start like joking around about how we're the only ones doing shit, or like we keep referencing them. It's just like it's such a weird, like, I mean, I loved it. I had a great time. I imagine Guillermo would say the same thing. Like we had some great food,
Yeah.
did a bunch of stuff, but it was so funny that he did nothing.
That's fucking crazy.
You go
That's
to Six
such a
Flags
Guillermo thing to do.
It is. It really is. I think he just wanted to talk and hang out.
Yeah.
But I do have another one of those stories that I'm trying to remember the timeline, because the timeline's really important. I think that might have been 7th grade, because wasn't it 8th grade where there was a trip that all of us went to? There was a Six Flags trip.
Yeah, because it was our grad night for.
Okay, so I think it will be 7th grade will be the Guillermo trip. 8th grade will come back to. Because I think you know what I'm going to talk about, but we'll get to it.
I fucking do know.
Me and Six Flags, man, there's a lot that's happened. I've also ridden every single roller coaster except the X2. The X2 has been closed every single time.
I can go into more detail about Horror Nights.
Now, you said you've done a whole bunch of traveling. Where else have you gone?
Oh, like San Francisco, Fresno, Las Vegas, multiple times actually. Like the Bay Area. Like I think
any of them have any like funny, questionable events?
So I mean, I could talk about, was it 2022 TwitchCon?
Oh,
that was pretty fun. I went to TwitchCon that year and I met several of my online friends there as well. We just honestly had a blast. Shout outs. Hold on, let me get it. We got Rev at the time. We got Junie, Farron, and then Mac. We all met up there and we had a blast, really. I remember the one night where, because San Diego traffic is not great. It really isn't. Was it San Diego? It was San Diego, I think. And then the next year after that, it was Las Vegas, which I didn't get to go to. Here we are. We're trying to get pizza and go back to the Verbo that I was staying at with my dad because this was like I was still I think 20, 21-ish maybe.
Mm.
Not 21 yet. I know that for sure. Here we go. Like we're on the freeway. Sitting in the passenger seat. Mac is driving. I think it's Farron, Junie, and Rev in the back. They're causing a ruckus in the back, which involves Mac screaming down the freeway, like complaining about traffic and telling them to shut the fuck up.
Yep. Okay, I feel like me and him would get along.
I'm over here in the passenger seat fighting for my life. I just like, can we just please pick up the pizza in peace? We just gotta go to Little Caesars and get back to the Verbal,
You're like
right?
the one mediating it, trying to be calm.
Trying, emphasis on trying. That and like we actually bought tickets to go. I did at least to go see Megan Thee Stallion, who was performing that one night. But the only other person who bought that ticket was Junie, and Junie wasn't even able to go in because she's not 21 or 18 at the time.
I imagine they had somebody like get them the ticket then.
Yeah, it's weird because she bought the ticket.
What? How are you able
She
to
bought
buy a ticket to something you're not allowed into?
I know, that's what we were talking about, and I was like, "Well, I don't wanna go by myself because I'm gonna be the only person there, and you guys are just gonna be here stuck at the Verbo," and I'm like, I'm not gonna go. I'd rather stay here than just go by myself."
So wait, there was 2 tickets purchased, but they were both wasted?
Yeah,
Ugh.
okay, 'cause
Okay,
the
how much did that run you guys? I gotta know. As a cheapskate, I have to know.
Okay, honestly, this was before they got more expensive because this was, I think, the first year of TwitchCon that was back since COVID.
Mm.
So I think because we bought the 3-day weekend with that music performance.
Okay, so the
Uh,
music performance was like included in the event.
yeah, it was a separate ticket
Okay.
too. So if you wanted to get 3 days, or was it 2 days? I think it was 2 days, either or. If you wanted to get just the days for TwitchCon, that was a separate ticket. But if you also wanted to get the included like performance from Megan,
So it was
it was like
boosted.
an
Got it.
extra, like, yeah. So I think it was like this was still cheap too at the time. I'm guessing no more than like $300.
That's 600 fucking dollars. That's 6 bones right there. Like,
Well, I only paid like 300 because I bought
I'm
my
counting the
ticket.
2 of you because that's 2 wasted tickets.
That's
Because
true,
one of
yeah.
you couldn't even like utilize it. Oh, that is
But
awful. I'd be
it didn't
fucking
make any
furious.
it didn't make any sense to how she would have bought the ticket if it was like I think it was only 21 plus up.
Would they even
I
allowed you
think
in? Because like you said, you weren't
I
21
wasn't gonna
yet.
wait. I think it was 18, my bad. It was nobody over or under the age of 18. I think because it's just they didn't serve any alcohol there. I think it was just because it's
18's
Megan Thee
the tip.
Stallion.
18's the typical cutoff for like stuff
Yeah.
like that. If at purchase they usually have you like provide identification, like hey, prove you can do this
Yeah.
even. So that is
I don't
so
even
fucking
know.
strange.
Because I don't know if she personally bought the ticket or it was her dad.
It might have been. I could only imagine it was like a parent situation, and none of the fine print was read.
And we didn't go. We didn't go because she couldn't even get in, and I was gonna be the only person going. I'm not gonna go by myself, man. I need my friends. I need somebody to hold my hand, please.
Right. Definitely when like you're not even like in your hometown, you definitely want to
Yeah.
be like with people. You don't want to just randomly disappear. Just
Yeah.
safety reasons.
Yeah, this was San Diego too, with a bunch of other like people that are also there at the event. In which we actually did go to the San Diego Zoo. That was pretty cool.
That's sick.
But
I'm curious if that one keeper's still like employed there.
shout out to Farron because oh my god, she paid for everybody's tickets to get in. And we were like, oh my god, let me pay you back. You didn't have to pay for everybody's tickets, Farron.
Like, all right, money bags, show off.
I mean, the trip from Cali to where we are now was pretty neat. Lasted like a long time. Good. How long was it? Like 10 days?
10 days of driving is what it was.
Damn.
It was 2 weeks of time.
Oh, so a fortnight. All right.
Yes.
There's yeah, we slept at in the parking lot of a lot of different Walmarts along the way. It was great. Most of the time I was just in the back of the RV, not like buckled into any seat or nothing as it was driving. So I was just walking around in a moving vehicle, which isn't recommended.
I have to look at the statute of limitations on that.
It's very very disorienting.
Very illegal.
It's in the past. They can't get me for it now.
That's why I brought up statute of limitations. We're missing some details. So we started off like we were moving in late 2020 out of California, and we moved out to the Midwest. And before we did that, we went to the beach and we stayed there for, I believe, 3 days. We went to Ventura. It was the thing I like about this is a very funny detail is that right as we get in, I think what was it? I think we stayed at a well, did we go to a hotel or did we like stop at a hotel parking lot until we found a spot?
I think we stayed at a hotel.
Yeah, so for the first night we stayed at a hotel and then we ended up like finding a spot to park the RV next to the beach side. But when we got into Ventura, we did the hotel, but right as we got up in the morning and was starting to leave, as we were driving by, there was this, I want to like very beach like style dressed man, the whole Hawaiian shirt and everything, and this woman with it was a bat, right? I think it was just a straight up bat. I don't think it was a golf club, but bat comes to mind. And she was just chasing with it. And and the funny thing about this is right before we see this, I'm like, this place is fantastic. Because it was super nice. It had perfect weather. Like, it had every store I could think of in close radius. It was actually walkable. I was like, hey, if I was to ever like come back to California, I might end up staying in Ventura. And as I finish this thought, it's this woman beating this man with a bat, and my opinion has still not changed.
I think we tried shark when we were there, which was pretty all right. It wasn't too bad.
It was weirdly casual. It was just kind of on the menu. It was like they had
shark and swordfish.
Yeah, they had it served up like cod. It was just fried shark, and it kind of just tasted like cod, but it was like a little
to it.
It had like a slightly different texture, and that was kind of about it. Like, imagine if fish was a little bit like not fishy, but like gamey, like cod with a different texture and a tang.
I think it was a little rougher than cod in the texture,
but
it wasn't bad. I quite liked it.
We went through I remember going through the dunes, like walking through that was an absolute bitch and a half in order to get to the beach.
I had fun though. It was fun because I was hanging out with my family.
I think it was like
I've never walked through the dunes before until then.
I remember it taking a very long time to get through it.
Oh yeah, it was a while. Nothing really happened like during the trip from Cali to where we are now. It just took a while with a lot of stops in between. Most of them were just Walmart parking lots so we could get some rest.
That's not even true.
That's what I remember of it.
We like stopped at like 2 Walmart parking lots. There was more like in the middle of nowhere, like
I think we went to like a Cracker Barrel at one point.
Did go to a Cracker Barrel for the first time. We saw 2 dead people.
What?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you keep forgetting like the most important details of this.
The most important detail. I hope so.
The most traumatizing one.
Yeah,
I guess.
Clearly. So as we're on the highway, I think we're in New Mexico at this point. So basically, we're going. I think it was like 70. I don't know what happens here, but there's this dude on a motorcycle.
Oh, I remember.
Who's like it's a 2-lane highway, and we're on the right side. This guy's on the left. He's going slow enough to the point where we're passing him, and by the time, like, as we're like halfway through passing him, we see him again, and the next time we like as after we've passed him, the next time we see him, he's in like the middle like dirt grass path area, just jumping shit, just like abs like
What?
fucking yeah, he's not on the road anymore. He's just in the middle, just like, and we see him fucking flip and roll, and that's the last we see of him. But with how
Oh.
fast he was going, I can only imagine the worst.
Oh yeah, he probably died.
Oh.
The assumption was, I don't know why this was the assumption. I imagine because of how fast we were going. They think it was the draft from the sides of the RV that pushed him, but I highly
Oh.
doubt that. But because I imagine it was like a situation there was just like a lot of people, because it was a pretty busy point in the highway.
Right.
But it's just, it goes from him being in the like the left lane to, I forget, I don't even know what it's called, but like in the, you know what I'm talking about, like in the middle of the lanes there's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's just there and then he's not. But the second one was, there was just a fully immolated like sedan on the side of the road as we pass it, just like completely ablaze.
Oh.
So
All right. Just sitting down on a casual Tuesday afternoon.
that
Oh,
it kind of
God.
was. It was like a Wednesday, yeah. Like,
Yeah, it was really close.
but yeah, I was waiting for you to bring that up. Like,
Dear Lord.
for me, let's go back to, we talked about the 7th grade one. Now let's talk about
God.
8th grade. Yeah, let's get into it.
No, it's not.
I would like to hear this. I don't think I've heard the story.
I'm gonna be real with you, Zach. I probably don't know or like remember half of what like happened that day.
I remember it very well because I've talked about the story a few times. So let me remember the group: me, you, Guillermo, David.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Juliet, Isha. Fuck. There was.
Don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't remember that guy.
He kind of stands out a little bit.
I don't think Abel was with us.
No, I'm
No.
trying to remember if there was one more person or not. I think there was a friend of David's, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember. If it was, it might have been, but there's also
I
the
think it
possibility it
might
could have
have-
been Noemi as well.
Oh, that might have been it.
Yeah,
So
because
me,
me
you,
and Noemi like
Guillermo.
stick together like glue.
So yeah, there's 6 of us. And the whole, okay, so on the way there, they make it very clear that it's like you have to be in a group of people of, what was it, like at least 3?
Yeah, at least 3,
at
3 or
least
4, if I remember.
3 to 4 people, and if you're not, you have to be accompanied by a teacher. This wasn't like a, like, oh hey, we just kind of, this is an actual school trip, like officiated by everything, so they're liable for anything that happens.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the sequencing, but what happens is, from what I remember, we have our group of the 6 of us, and we're all mingling and talking, and we all go successfully together on 2 sets of rides. It's like 1, 2, and then we're all together and we keep going. What happens is there's this one ride that half of the group goes on to, and the other half stayed behind. Or at least I think it might have been Girls and Guillermo. I think it was just me and David that were held back because I needed to go use the restroom.
Oh, now I remember.
Yeah.
Now
So-
I remember.
Basically what ends up happening is you guys are on the ride, I'm in the restroom, and you guys get off the ride, and I think I'm like at some point in between that time period, I like get out, grab a drink from a vending machine, turn around, no one.
Yeah, I remember.
There is nobody with me. I don't even see, like, because it's not like the park was like closed off from the public either. It was just, oh,
Right,
hey,
yeah.
there's a bunch of school kids coming. So it's just a bunch of people. There's like pockets of like space where I could like look around and like see if anybody's coming, like if there's anybody that I know around. There's no one. But so I'm like, I start like speed walking, like where the fuck is everybody? So I go back to the entrance of the like coaster, and there's no one because I left because there's this like model car that was out in front of it that David was sitting in, and he's gone. Um, he said, "Hey, I'm just gonna stay here and wait." He wasn't.
Yeah, and he didn't.
It just
He
forgotten.
booked it. He left.
So once I get to the front and I see nobody's there, I turn to my left and I'm like, fuck. Because there's a group of teachers hunting
Yeah.
for kids because they're on the lookout to see if anybody's by themselves. So I turn around and book it. I try to not look like suspicious because if I go too fast, they're gonna immediately catch me.
Yeah.
But so I sneak my way over to the food court and I kind of sit down at a table with my head down in like a menu. And what ends up happening is one of the teachers just sits at the table and it's like, "Hey man, you got anybody around?" And I'm like, "God damn it." It's like, I did. And then I'm trying to remember what happens. I think we very quickly, like, I think you guys realize you left me because
Yeah.
you guys like come back from the direction you were going, and I'm like, "Yep, I'm with them," and I just point
was
at the
like,
group
It was like the perfect moment to come back, like
Because-
back to.
because you know, do you
realized, like,
remember this? Like me
oh,
sitting at this table with this person.
Yeah, I do remember
Yeah.
this.
So
And I'm like, hey guys, I think we're supposed to. We forgot Zach. Do you guys realize that?
Mhm. So it was a very big oh shit moment, I think, for the group. I don't know what happened with you guys, but that was my end. And I remember I could not get over it for the rest of the trip. I was just like, what the fuck?
Which you had every right to be. I don't.
I felt like it was
know.
fair
I
for
don't
me.
Remember. I don't remember what happened. Maybe we just thought you assumed you went off with David. I think.
Because I don't
But
even
I
remember where
think-
he went, because I thought he was with you guys.
I don't remember. I really don't.
But that's like the big thing about that story is like you're not supposed to be without anyone, and I get left without anyone.
It's like,
And
by-
right at
literally
the
by
very
yourself.
end, I skirt past being snatched up by teachers for the rest of the entire fucking trip, which would have been the goddamn worst.
Yeah. 'Cause
But holy fuck, to that
one thing I
day.
remember from that is that I really like. I was looking at everybody else, thinking like, "Hey, are we missing somebody?"
I'm so rememberable.
'Cause I just followed them. I followed them to where we got off of the ride. I think it was Apocalypse at the time that was the ride. It was
Mhm.
like the one of the far back ones,
Yeah,
and
it was
I
definitely
was
like
just
off to the
walking with
corner.
them. Yeah, and I was just walking with them, and I'm looking at the area, and I'm like,
It's like the
David's not
group.
here.
The group seems smaller.
David he's not there. He was at the car. Zach went to the restroom. They probably just took off somewhere, maybe, because I thought you two were still together, at least.
I think
'cause of
that's
the
why
rule.
I think that's why I thought he had a friend there with him, because I
Yeah.
think it was like a situation where somebody came up and started talking to him, and that's when I went to the restroom, and I think he went with them.
That's probably what happened. Because we assumed that you just took off with David. I think we were heading to like another. Because what was the other ride that we agreed on to go on next after that?
I don't even remember. The big thing was I was fucking abandoned.
No, but we were on
Uh,
our way to the next roller coaster that we were gonna do, and we just assumed you guys were heading up there already.
Mhm.
There was this one trip I took back in March, April of this year,
Ooh,
and there's
recently.
actually there's video evidence of this somewhere.
Oh.
I think it's on Mac's Twitch channel. I went down to LA for 3 days and stayed with
I
him.
remember talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Even because we did this one stream where I had to put makeup on him as we were playing the scary game, which the scary game was not scary at all. Because what was the game? What was the game? There was like no scares as I'm doing his makeup, which it's fine. We still had a bunch of fun.
Because I think
while
you
doing
said you guys it was multiple, right? Like I know one of them was Alien Isolation. I think.
mortuary.
Oh yeah, I was
assistant?
gonna say mortuary
Yeah.
assistant.
Yeah, he was trying to play that game, but this is the beginning of the game where nothing really happens.
Mm.
But we already started, so we
Just
kept the
kept
flow
on
with it.
going.
Yeah. And so after my segment ended, he and a couple other creators did Drunk Mario Party, in which we both got really pretty drunk. I'm not gonna lie.
Fucking
And I think
slammered.
we get slammered. Was it the boys? It was the boys that we tried to get through the first episode and second episode after the stream ended. And I think we just passed out on the couch.
Sean and I recently like finished that. Like we were all caught up. Like we kind of
Yeah.
just binged
Oh, yeah.
it from the beginning to end. Pretty solid show.
It's pretty good.
It is a pretty good one.
But we probably shouldn't have done that the day before I was supposed to leave. Because I scheduled my bus ticket, I think around 6:15, 6:45 at night. So I'm like, oh, we have some time to go around. We didn't do anything. Well, we went to the Funko store and that was probably it. And then he took me to the the bus station. And it's funny that happens again the next, I think a couple months later, where Ray and Mars, a good friends of mine, they come down through here and they pick me up and I spend the night with them. We drank that night before, we got wasted. At least me and Mars did, because I remember we ended up on the floor somehow and we were just laughing and giggling the entire time. It was Ray that had to pick me and Mars up on the floor and help us.
I'm such a
as I'm
lightweight
like-
because I rarely ever drink, and whenever I do, all inhibitions are gone, and you're right, I always end up on the fucking floor. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's the floor, it just is.
And I felt so bad because as like Ray's trying to help me, like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you need water? I hear Mars throwing up in the background. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then we were supposed to go hang out with Mac again the next day, and we were trying to get breakfast or get something to eat, and this was like maybe 2-3 o'clock, probably a little later than that. I still had work the next day. I had a mid shift to work the next day.
Oh yeah.
And after, the whole day ended, they were like, we're going to order you an Uber home. I'm like, are you sure? That Uber's expensive, and they got me a comfort ride. I'm like, oh, you guys really don't have to do that. I appreciate you both.
Oh, they're so
But-
sweet.
Yeah, they're sweet people. And I had a bunch of fun.
That's good. At the very least, you gotta have fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
I got drunk as shit.
Oh yeah.
I literally had to be carried to the
God.
Just
Thank you,
completely
Ray.
sloshed.
Thank you, Ray. Shout out to Ray.
I was gonna say, yeah, since Sean doesn't really have too much more to go off of, I kind of have a longer one. I, with 2 friends and then a friend of theirs that I was kind of like an acquaintance with, we all planned a trip to Tokyo, Japan. We did this in 2022, I think.
Yeah, I want to go to Japan. so bad.
August 2022. We went
Gotcha.
for, it was like a 2-week time frame, but 2 of those days were nothing but flights. So
Damn.
up until this point, I remember, I think I brought this up earlier, about details of my first ever plane trip. This is the first time I've ever been on a plane. 2022. I'm in Kansas City. Everybody else is stationed in California, and our trip, like our plane takes off from LAX. Since I'm separated from everybody, I have to spend like the extra time and money to like set up not only the ticket but also the actual flight over. So I take I think it was it a 6-hour flight? No, it can't. It might have been like a 4-hour flight, 4 to 6, somewhere around there, flight from Kansas City to LA. I touch down in LA and meet up with everybody, but that meetup, like getting through the airport in LA was hectic. Like Oh my god, if anybody knows the terminal in LAX, it's absolute hell. It took us like
It
2
is.
hours to get out of the airport.
God damn.
So, and the big thing with this trip was it had already been delayed because they sent their passport like registration like application info to the wrong post office. Like there's different like offices you're supposed to send it to. They sent it to the wrong one for their county. So it's already been delayed. And the thing we have to all go do is we all have to go get a COVID booster shot because you at the time there was only the regular vaccination plus the booster, but
Yeah.
the Japan's borders at this time since like 2020, like when COVID really started, they like hard closed them. This is when they like were just barely starting to open them. So it was like zombie apocalypse levels. Like we had to have like 10 pages worth of documents, and we had to
Jesus
go through
Christ.
like 3 to 4 different security checks when we actually got there. It was fucking ridiculous. But to even get on the plane, we needed to verify, hey, we have our vaccination cards with our booster shot. So we just go to a CVS and then we just get boosted up. It's like very close to midnight. I think we get it at like 11 p.m. And I'm sure then we head back to the airport because our flight is like the next day, like early on. I don't know about you, but I'm not able to just sleep in the middle of a fucking airport. So
Oh, yeah, that's completely fair.
so at this point, when we actually are starting to get onto the plane, I've been up for like well over 24 hours. I want to say it's been like 30 for the first like actual onto the plane. And this plane ride is one way, like no stops, 15 hours.
No.
I am
Insanity.
in the middle, like there's 3 sections on this plane. I'm in the middle aisle, far right. So the entire time, I'm in like the rockiest spot on the plane, but also if anybody is walking by, they're bumping into me, including the flight attendants. And the people that went on the trip with me was me, Kevin, Andy, and their friend Christian. Kevin had some melatonin, so I popped a couple, and then I took like a 30-minute nap, and I think that's all of the sleep I was able to get on that flight.
Jesus.
So we're going like, I want to say we're sitting at like 44 hours, maybe 43 if we count like the small naps I took in the airport because we took like shifts. Like 43 hours of consciousness, and now I have to go through this airport that like on the other side of the planet, not like barely anything is in English obviously, but
Yeah.
everything like they're like, oh, you have to go here, 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 you have to go through this line, this line, this line, you have to sign off on these documents, we have to take this picture, to do this, do that. So after we get through these like 3-4 security checks, like plastered in this like plastic, like everything's like covered in like a film as well, like wrapped up, it's like super fucking freaky, like zombie apocalypse.
Oof.
We
Crazy.
get out, and now we're like, now what? Because we have the way it was set up was we had a hotel and then an Airbnb. It was split up for like half and half, I think. We get like, it takes us like another like hour to 2 hours for our scheduled like person to like our scheduled driver to come pick us up and then drop us off, because you had to have a mandatory like it was like a tour guide. You had to have a tour guide.
Right.
And through this tour guide, we had the driver scheduled. So we drive off to this hotel. We get all settled in. We unload our stuff. I think it's like nighttime at this point. So I like desperately try to get some food because the airplane food was fucking horrible, and I didn't eat anything in LA. So I'm starved. I eat and then I pass the fuck out. And the second day of the trip, no, the second day when we're actually with the tour guide, I get extremely bedridden sick. I can't go on anybody
Oh.
with like the tour and stuff. But the first day, I think we're out and walking with the tour guide for 12 hours. And a lot of this guy is very intelligent. He's like very well educated about everything in the area. I think he's from like the Philippines. He's a very
good.
sweet guy. If I still had his Instagram, I'd shout it out, but he was really great. But he was like super into the religious aspect of it, I guess. And his tour early on, for like the most of it, focused heavily on going from temple to temple to temple, which was very pretty. I have a whole lot of pictures of that. But I was very much more interested in the like shopping districts, you know, the classic tourist attractions where I like seeing the hustle and bustle of a lot of people.
Right.
So we're just going from like creek to like mountaintop to rainforest in this
Holy
first
shit.
day. And I'm like, I'm fucking, it's like the most I've ever walked in one day in my goddamn life. And I am, because we've been to like one or two stores as well. So by the end of the day, we're just like lugging this like merchandise with us as well. So I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking die if we don't get home to the hotel. So I think that's what happened. Like I just got like super over exerted and exhausted. I like shocked my body, especially after that super like draining first plane ride. That's But the second day was really fucked up that I missed because you know that Gundam they recently just decommissioned in Tokyo?
Yeah.
That's where they fucking went. They went there, and I think there was on that same like island area there was a Pokemon Center that they went to, which were both things I wanted to do, but I'm telling you, I could not move a muscle. I did not leave my bed. And when they
Oh.
got back, I was like, I need somebody to get me some kind of medication. And when they say medication, like store-bought medication, is way different from the US to everywhere else in the world, they're not lying. Tylenol and like ibuprofen and all that shit is like non-existent. It's like what you can get is like the weakest shit imaginable.
That's funny.
So I like pop like half the bottle because it's like nothing per. I just sleep it off basically. I just get whatever rest I can, and I feel decent enough to actually do stuff the next day. So the following days were like actually us exploring around like different parts of Japan because we did leave Tokyo quite a few times. Like just there's the trains, like the public transport actually is very interesting. People like hype it up super much, like, oh, it's this crazy thing. It kind of racked up with the amount that it cost because I guess we were kind of going to a bunch of places like back to back to back.
Yeah.
But like each day we like all of us were spending like I think like 20 US on like train fares because we had to keep refilling the cards. But the way you did set it up was super easy. It was like better than anything else I've ever seen, like public transportation wise in the US. Like I remember us having to use like the buses in like fucking California, and that system, it would take us like 3 hours to get home. And I'm like, we could have just walked there and it would have taken us like half the time. And I'm like a kid at this point. I don't realize like my mom is like chronically ill and she can't walk that distance. But like
Yeah.
I'm complaining the entire time. But this was actually very good. It was just kind of like it was more expensive than I expected it to be because of the
Right.
way everybody talked about it. So skimming over a couple of days where I'm just kind of like we get a little bit more freedom to go do stuff. I'm on like the hunt from card shop to card shop looking for what's called a ultimate rare dark arm dragon. Like I was looking for Japanese specific cards because they're a million times cheaper than the US versions. Because like I think this card I'm talking about is like $500 if you get it in like English. But like I found stuff that was around that price, but for like five. And it's absolutely, I have like a whole collection of them, but I couldn't over this trip I couldn't find what I was specifically looking for, but it was a great experience. I have a bunch of videos of going through those card shops. They were fantastic. The first like big mishap, there was that night we got off like this big, I think this is the night where we went to like the rainforest area temple and like the World War II museum, which they also have like a completely different written history about what actually happened, because you know they were kind of on the Axis. So they have a little bit of a different way of how they talk about it in that museum. But past that, there was a typhoon warning and torrential fucking rain.
Oh,
And we were smarter about this time, where everything we bought, we put in like these lockers at a train station, because all the train stations had like personalized lockers you could like rent out for a day.
right.
So we did that, but we bought more than that other day. We were walking a super long time, and we didn't know anything about it raining as hard as it did. So we had to go grab our stuff, which we missed. It missed the stop the first time, so we had to like backtrack. So we go get our stuff, and it's pouring at this point, and we don't actually know where our Airbnb is.
Oh,
Because the address, when you put it into like the Google Maps that we were using, it didn't show up, and it was like this out of nowhere middle back alley, like traditional Japanese house that I was talking about before. The first one, the hotel we went to, was kind of small, and it was like more of like a regular thing you would see in like the US, pretty standard hotel.
Mhm.
But the only way we're actually able to get to our Airbnb is because our tour guide stayed with us the entire time to direct us to where to go. He like did like, I want to say like 3 hours extra of overtime just
Oh,
helping
shit.
us get back to our place. Like, this guy was super fucking sick. Yeah, we get there. I have my own room. They're all upstairs. I think we just kind of did I really like Akihabara. Very cool, like, business district. We went to a couple, like, gaming areas, like arcades, like classic arcades. Like, I think he actually took us, like, the first one being, I think it was called, like, he said it was, like, one of the most, like, popular, like, it was, like, the first one to be, like, founded in Akihabara, because it used to just be, like, an electronic tech hub, but now it's like kind of like a media cultural hub area.
Mhm.
And it's called Super Potato. Is like the classic one he brought us to, and it was kind of like corner, like kind of like one of those hole in the wall pizza shops you would find in like New York, but it's like an arcade. And it was super cool. It was really fascinating, the little areas you can go to. We actually went to a conveyor belt sushi place. It was pretty nice. We went to like close to the beach when we took like a separate like bus rather than the train station to actually get there. It was so much nicer because the bus was like heavily air conditioned. Across the sides of the bus there were these air conditioning vents that you can adjust and everything. So I just took like 2 or 3 of them, and I just pointed them all down on top of me, because it was in August, but there it was like fucking, like, I guess that's still like summer. So it was blazingly hot. Like, I'm telling you, I was drinking quite literally a gallon of water a day. I was pouring sweat the entire time because of how humid it was. I wasn't quite used to the humidity. When we went to the beach, we went to this like classical, like, he wanted to show off this specific cuisine that was like live fish. It was like this see-through, like whitish, like, I want to say it, like, size and shape of worms, but they looked like parasites to me. And I was like, oh, hey, like a bowl of this is like a delicacy. And I was like, I'm sorry, Chief. I'm getting I'm getting the mango shaved ice. I'm like, I can't. I'm into sushi and all that. I cannot do this. You're like asking me to eat an octopus. No, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
man. I'm not gonna disrespect it, but I can't do this. You enjoy yourself. I think like Kevin and them like had like it and like similar stuff. I was like, I can't do it. I'm just not. I'm not up for it. We did a lot of shopping. We went to like talk about the Nintendo store, we went to the one in Tokyo, which was super nice. I bought family gifts from there. We went to, there was quite a few figurine ooh, the thing about Akihabara that was super sick is their stores. They weren't just like first level buildings. It would be a storefront stacked on top of a storefront plus 7. It would be like floor after floor after floor after floor. Like you go upstairs and there's an elevator and it's just
Oh,
shop, 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 and they're
yeah.
all their own different things. And it was fucking insanity the amount of variety they would have in just one building. So trying to look for anything, it was just like you would just get lost in it. It was it was intense, especially the stores like selling figurines. Oh my god, they were labyrinths. There was so much stuff. Because that was another thing I really want. I specifically wanted a xenomorph, which I got. I did end up finding. I was very surprised I found it because like a childhood dream was always like get like a, if I ever became rich, get a like a lifelike statue, like size, like everything to like the T, because it's like my favorite movie, like IRL movie of all time. It's so fucking good. I love horror. The only other like funny detail, oh my god, the trip back. Fuck. Um so not only was it also a 15-hour flight back, after that 15-hour flight, and I'm gonna do some call outs. Andy was our like like he was like borrowing a car from an uncle in LA. And no, he was borrowing one of his parents' cars because they had multiple. And he brought it to LA and he parked it at his uncle's. He said, right as we touched down, I need to go straight home. I'm like, dude, what? Like,
No,
it's been like quite a while since I've seen him or talked to him or anything. Like
right.
up until this trip, and I'm like, we're not gonna see each other for a really fucking long time after this. You sure you don't want to do like I was like I said starving again. Like I really want to go to this place in LA. It was called Fat Sal's on the pier.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I really wanted to go there because I heard a lot about it from like Ted from Chuckle Sandwich. I was like, it
Mm.
sounds fantastic. It sounds like completely awful for you. It sounds super great. Let's go. Um, I think Kevin was kind of down, but he was like wishy washy about it. I was like,
Mm.
and Christian was just like blank. He was like, yeah, I'll just do whatever the group is gonna do. And I was like, I need to eat something. So you guys are going to leave anyway. So just take me there, I guess, at the very least. So we grab all our stuff because at this point, we're also carrying all of our luggage. So, like, everything we all bought while we were in Japan is with us, plus what we brought there.
Right.
I packed very lightly because I knew I was going to purchase a bunch of stuff and then have a bunch of stuff to bring back. So we do this drive over down. So I'm still trying to convince them to like eat with me, like just stay for a little second, because like, come on, man, don't just like ditch me out of nowhere. Because I also have to stay in LA for another 24 hours in order to wait for my next flight.
Right.
Because I couldn't schedule it the next day. That'd be poor planning. Because like if anything gets delayed, I'm just fucked. So the way I had it scheduled, I had to wait till the next day. So we start driving over, and it's just I can't make him budge. I just can't. So we get over to Fat Sal's, and I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, all right, peace, man. So they're just gonna ditch me at the beach, all
Jesus.
the way off from the other side of LAX, and I'm trying to like fucking talk to him like what was it? I'm trying to fucking negotiate. I'm like, because I don't know what to do at that point. You want me to
Right.
walk back in the middle of the night, like close to midnight, all the way back to
No.
LAX with all my luggage? Like, come
No.
on. So
That
at the
no, you
very
can't do
last
that.
second, Kevin books me an Uber, but the Uber doesn't go all the way over to LAX. It gets me to like Target, which is like 2 miles away from LAX. So I'm like, well, that's the best we can do, I guess. So
Jesus.
they leave. I'm like, all right, it's solo time. I get my $20 sandwich. Um, well, it's because it's like fucking 3,000 calories.
Yeah.
So I'm eating that. I eat like half of it, and I save it for the rest because I know it's gonna be a long night. So I save it in my
Mhm.
backpack, and then I start waiting for this Uber. And since I'm at the pier, it takes them a really long time to get there.
Yeah.
Like Kevin's texting me back and forth, like multiple people canceled on us. Like I think he had to
Jesus.
reschedule it like 3 different times, and then finally, like another like 30. I want to say like 45 minutes of waiting, like trying to find somebody. Somebody shows up, and then I finally get over to Target, and then I walk my sorry ass all the way back there. Like, and there's a lot. Like, I think it's either Friday or like Saturday, like weekend type beat, because there's a lot of people on the streets. Like, just you could tell they're either high or fucking hammered. Like, everybody's
Yeah.
really loud. And LA at that time, going through the places I knew I was going through, I'm like, I have a lot on me. This is worrisome. So the entire
Yeah.
time I'm walking, I'm doing like 360s. Like I'm not about to get jumped over some figurines. Like, so I get there no trouble, but it takes me a second because once you get within like a mile radius of the airport, it's nothing but streets, like zero sidewalks. So I'm like walking through these like broken down areas that have not seen any maintenance in like 20 years. Because like there's no direct path. I have to like start cutting streets, and I finally get there, and once again, this time I don't have anybody to take like shifts with for a nap.
Right.
So I'm just like, well, I pull up my phone charger, I plug it in, and I start doing shit on my phone for like the next 24 hours. And I get onto my plane. I'm finally able to take like a 2 hour nap on there. I get back to Kansas City, and it's a 2.5 hour drive home at that when I where I was living.
Right.
So in totality, I remember going through time zones and everything. I was awake for 60 hours.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yikes.
That entire trip back was hellish. It was an absolute nightmare. So to end off the podcast, I think it'd be a good idea to see what our future dream trip would be. So starting off with McKenna, what would be your dream place to go and thing to do?
It's gonna be any other common answer I'm gonna give you. It's gonna be Japan.
That's fair. That's fair. That is the one thing I did.
I got New York off the list. Now I need Japan.
Mine's also gonna be Japan, just because I've always wanted to go. There's a lot of shit you can do in there. It's
In
gonna
that
be great.
bitch.
In that bit, it's gonna be great. Can't wait.
I'm not 100% certain on this. It would definitely be. So I've always had this idea of maybe not living in the U.S. necessarily, drop everything and move somewhere. And the plan was New Zealand because it's like very similar. It's like Australia and the U.S., but like not nearly as shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have to learn a new language. But if I'm going to like a trip for like tourism, I've heard a whole lot of great things about New Amsterdam.
Hmm.
I heard Amsterdam's a great place. There's a lot of stuff to do there. I know the whole thing is like everything's legal, but it's more so like there's a lot of culture that seems really cool around the area. Lots of like just activities. Like a lot of people shit on LA for being like an absolute hellhole, but the cool thing I think about LA is you could walk down like any busy business strip and there's a million things to do. You just walk,
Oh,
you could
yeah.
walk into any place and have a conversation with one of the most colorful personalities on the planet. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what New Amsterdam seems to be, but without all the crime.
Huh.
So I think I'll go there and do like shrooms.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'd say this was pretty great. definitely, hopefully, audio was a lot better. I definitely tried to tweak it a bit. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.